Good morning. It's 9 a.m. And I'll call the July 28th meeting of the Board of Supervisors to order. Welcome our guests. The first item on the agenda is approving the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Been moved by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Jorgensen to approve the agenda as presented. Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Item 2, public comment. Anyone like to make a public comment on any item that's not on our agenda today? You can speak on any agenda item at the time. Hearing none, we'll move to item 3, which is review and action regarding the approval of the July 24th, 2023 supervisor minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from July 24th.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Supervisor Jorgensen, seconded by Kiefer to approve the minutes of the July 24th Board of Supervisors meetings. Further discussion? Any comment from any member of the public? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Item 4, review and action regarding the approval of claims.
I'll make a motion to approve claims.
I'll second.
There's been a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Jorgensen to approve the claims. Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 And the motion is carried. Item 5, updates on various boards, commissions, activities since the last meeting. So our meeting was last Monday, so there hasn't been a lot of time, but did any of you attend a meeting on behalf of the county or any activities regarding county business?
I intend, go ahead, Jim.
Just county business ongoing activity discussion for EMS and that type of thing. But other than that, no meetings.
I attended the OAC meeting Monday afternoon, and there are people in working on the punch list items. They saw some workers from Young Plumbing and Heating earlier this week, and so they're working on it. Finally got the message. Also attended Charles City Community Area Development Pre-Planning Corporation, which was Wednesday. The second half of the meeting is the one I attended. I missed the first part where Doyle Turner spoke, I understand, and former Representative Steve King maybe was there as well. And then I also, Thursday, I stopped at the pub and visited with the NextEra people about their wind farm that they're proposing to build. So that's what I did this week. So,
I do have one addition. Actually today, right now, it starts at 10 o'clock. It's the juvenile detention meeting, but can't be there, so.
Well, I attended 2 meetings. I did attend the Charles City Area Development Corporation annual meeting, their monthly meeting. And I was present when the discussion occurred about the ADC's decision on how they were going to respond to the Iowa Utilities Board's postcard, what they're going to do. And former Representative Steve King was there and made comments. After that, I attended a county social services meeting in Elkader. And as a result of the government realignment this year, it's really changed. We reduced the number of board members. And so Floyd and Chickasaw are aligned together as one group. And because the Chickasaw County representative couldn't be there, I was the voting member on the meeting for that day. There are a lot of changes. And we added a representative from law enforcement. And so we're getting used to and starting to fully understand the the changes that are mandated by the government realignment process. But we had a good meeting, and someday we will have a new 2080 agreement with that organization, and we'll bring that back. Actually, the next meeting of CSS will be here in Floyd County. And at that time, the board will be kind of looking at that 2080 agreement. And in the meantime, I've been given the draft and will be taking it past the county attorney to see if he heard his comments regarding the 2080. But they're looking to approve that new 2080 agreement. It'll be up for discussion and possibly review an action in September. So a lot of changes going on there. And that's really it. That's for my meetings this week. Item 6, update on law enforcement center courthouse project, including progress report, payment applications, potential change orders. So what happened at the EOC meeting? I mean, you mentioned that they're reducing the number of these. What's left to work to do?
The punch list date. Well, initially, I guess the reason there was a delay is contractors weren't notified of the punch list. Is that correct, Victoria? Timely or whatever. So when they were notified, then they started taking action. And like I said, I met a couple of workers for Young Plumbing and Heating when I was in maybe Wednesday morning, I think it was. And she didn't, the worker I talked to didn't tell me what she was doing, but she had a tool chest with her and had been working. So, and I didn't see anyone from Dean Snyder or Paulson Electric, but they may have been in the building too. So
Paulson's is, on Monday, I reported that Paulson's is done except for whatever Young's and Paulson's work out for that plug-in issue and switch in
in our boardroom.
boardroom.
Okay. So
And
that's about the best recap for you. May be able to add more, but
I think a lot of the trades have been here. Young Plumbing's been here this week, Continental Fire's been around. I haven't seen Dean Schneider, but I think their work is mostly done, other than things like we talked about with the grass and work over on this side.
so we're getting closer.
Is that Auditor Carty mentioned today, was it the chairs for the boardroom or in?
They're put together yesterday. They arrived on Monday and or on Wednesday, they put them together yesterday. So they're there. I meant to check on before I came down here to see if they were done with that vent issue. But
I didn't
forgot
look
walk
to see.
there.
I can check that,
But I think you could.
Is there, yeah, my next question, is there any reason we can't start conducting our meetings in that?
Yeah, that would be the only thing that whenever they decide to fix that vent work, that would be they just need to work around that. The only other thing is that air compressor that's in there, that needs to stay in there as long as we're keeping the north door to the courthouse as a public entrance, because that runs the hydraulics for the handicap buttons. So whenever you're ready to transition to this being the public entrance, only public entrance, they could take that air compressor out, because that air compressor is very loud. But other than the work that needs to be done, there is that vent work and that issue with the plug-in and the switch.
So we're ready to go to have our meetings as we're currently having them now, that?
Yes, it'll be on my Zoom, the Zoom that's on the TV in there. This is all EOCs. So yeah, mine is supposedly ready. And Bernie's on the agenda
Okay,
to talk about that. when we get farther down on the agenda.
So we can perhaps discuss any other things regarding the readiness for that room.
Yeah.
Other appointments, other than the telecommunications. Fine.
Like
Something that we
to-
wanted in there.
Like here and there,
All right.
the custodians have been busy with doing, they don't have all the new lines installed yet. So they haven't messed with the chair wheel yet, but that wouldn't have to be done before you can get in there. And as far as those contractors with the plug-in and switch and the duct, that vent deal, those could be worked around. What it can't work around is that air compressor is gonna turn on and off whenever it needs to turn on and off, and that's very loud in the room.
So the consideration would be to have that not become a public entrance, so that could be removed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what's entailed with that?
And we already have the signage made to put on the north door, and, it's just whenever you're ready to do that switch over, the north door would have a sign that would say, not a public entrance, and have an arrow to go to the atrium. We've got that sign made, but however, I believe, Bernie has purchased what might be the better sign opportunity is a printer that will do, the decals, yeah. So he's talked like he can make a nicer sign, with that system than just a 11 by 17 paper that has not a public entrance and an arrow. So we could maybe get a better signage, but that, whenever you say the go to close out that north entrance, we can do that.
So we're getting to the point where we could set a goal. We're not gonna be meeting Monday because of this meeting was called, and we won't be meeting this next coming Monday. So we're actually, our next really regular scheduled meeting will be at least a week from Monday. So it seems like that should be adequate time to kind of clear up some of these issues and set a goal of meeting in our new boardroom,
I would think
fully equipped, ready to go. There's always gonna be that transition period where we can tell the public, but they won't know until they come to the door that this is no longer a public entrance, and we do the best we can to notify people. But I think that should be kind of our goal, is getting everybody, our next regularly scheduled meeting. That's just my thought, but sounds like we might be able to accomplish that, and we'll talk more about that with Bernie Solomon when he gets here. Does that sound fair? Good?
Yeah.
We have one little item here on to-do list yet, and that's the PCO 148, the stairwell plaster on the walls coming off.
Yeah, I still had not heard back from Mike BOS. He was gonna try to find someone to do that job, and I'm assuming he can't or hasn't found anyone. He isn't answering my text messages, so. And I don't know if you've had any luck or.
On Monday, after our OAC meeting, I tried Quake Construction again. Got a voice message again and have not heard anything. So I think if you want to get this project done, I would suggest you do this PCO. We were hoping we could save some money with getting a local contractor to do it and avoiding on the PCO that you have that has an upcharge for Dean Schneider to oversee that plaster work, and they are subbing Pro Wall to do that work. So Dean Schneider has upcharge. You can see that on that document. And then there's Paulson Electric would also come back and do that fourth floor in this stairwell, putting a lowered ceiling in. Is where that entails. So it's got the two different components to it, with Dean Schneider overseeing Pro Wall. And then Samuel's group has their 2.5% charge on there also. So the total cost is $42,399.89.
Supervisor Kiefer, is that a kind of that your recommendation? It sounds like we're not, although we've attempted, we're not getting any response from local contractors, so.
The price is awful high. Of course, I'm not a contractor, but we can't find anyone else to do it.
And there is tricky scaffolding work
Yeah.
to do. And there, I think some of it is that, I didn't include all the pictures this time. You've had that in the past PCOs and, you know, I think
There's several areas that they have.
there's several areas, but I think the price also is, in case there's other areas that needed to be added, they're covering everything.
And like I mentioned for Monday, this is 80-year-old plaster that they're repairing, not new drywall. So there may be some challenges with that. So,
Yeah.
but so I would recommend, I guess approving the stairwell plaster on walls, PCO 148. They have that done.
Second.
All right, there's a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, second by Jorgensen to approve PCO 148. $42,399.89 for the plaster damage in repairing that. Any further discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time or not. Do we need to discuss the email from Brandy Schmidt about our lighting in this agenda item? I don't know if you got
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
I'm unaware of that email.
I got an email from Brandy
It came
complaining
on the
about the
26th.
lighting. There's a timer switch in her office and sometimes it goes off when they're in there working, it comes on overnight and it's not functioning regularly. Is that what you gathered?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
erratic and have to wave their arms to get it to come on according to the email
Yeah,
and
Oh, I see it now. All right,
I can contact Paulson, if, I didn't know about it, I can contact Paulson's
okay.
to see if they can come back to
she said in the email that they've adjusted it once, but it still isn't working properly.
I'm not a fan of those lights like that in those offices because, you know, if they're sitting at their desks, there's not the motion to
Keep them on.
keep the lights on, and so the lights will go off on them in their offices, but that's the type of switch that Prohaska recommended, and
She even indicated they stay on overnight or sometimes on the weekend in the email, so.
Hey, Gloria, this is Chris. If I could just speak on that.
yeah.
sure, go ahead.
Hey, so they did come in and adjust the timers, and that hasn't been as big of an issue yet. You know, I think they got like 15 minutes or 20 minutes where before they're going off every 5 to 10. The big thing is that the main switch in the front of our office, that takes lights like over where Caitlin sits when you come in the door, that switch doesn't work. It's hit and miss, and it's been a lot more miss lately than hit. So our lights stay on, and then the sensor seems to not turn those lights off. So when we come in the morning, the lights have been on all night. And so, like I said, Chris did adjust the sensors, and that has helped, but that switch up front isn't working to turn those lights off. So that's been the big issue right now.
I've got an email started to Chris Ryder
Okay.
as we're speaking.
All right, we'll look into that, so we can resolve that issue. It's not good. The idea is keep the lights on,
Right.
keep them on.
Right.
All right, Scott Andrews, South Florida, you're recognized.
Thank you. Well, first off, I do want to thank all three supervisors for either being, running for position or accepting the appointment and stuff. So don't relish your, task that you have had in front of you as you found out that there's quite a bit of stuff there to look into. And so in regards to this was approximately, close to 2.5 years ago. I had a client come to me and he was talking about the maximum tax levy, and then he said that was in relation to help for funding for the law enforcement center and the courthouse renovations. And he was seeing if I had any experience in county governmental stuff, because I'm a CPA within the community here. And I said, yes, I had prior employers with CPA, a couple of them beyond governmental audits for county as well as municipal in the state of Iowa. So I had a little bit more than a cursory experience. And so I actually came up here on, I believe it was March 1st, and I sat with Gloria for, it was close to 4.5 hours, I do believe. It was close to that. It was quite a bit of time. And in fact, ex-supervisor Linda Jayton, she had the opportunity to show up towards the tail end there, and she was there for about another half hour, 45 minutes, the tail end of it. So I was just basically just trying to get some cursory information, looking to see what was going on in regards to this whole thing with the general obligation bonds getting passed, et cetera. And for funding for the law enforcement center and the courthouse renovations. And I didn't really like what I was seeing and stuff. And I put forth a timeline and stuff like this. And then of course we've had now new supervisors in here and stuff. But I have asked for a couple times, and it should be in past minutes over approximately about 2.5 years ago, or a little bit less than that. I've asked a couple of times the ex-supervisors for a special investigative audit to be performed. So I guess my question is, I'm still reiterating those concerns. And my understanding is you guys have to have probably basically a completion on all this. And so do you have some type of an expected date when that could happen, where we could have a special investigative audit to be performed? Because there's still a lot of unanswered questions that I do believe that all the taxpayers are entitled to, with our property tax dollars to help fund this, or even the bonds being issued and stuff and for the repayments. So with that being said, I guess, do you guys have some type of a timeline?
Yes, we're rapidly as we possibly can do to finish this project. And I have stated publicly, and it's my position and that of Auditor Carr, that there will be a complete accounting done in-house. We have separate funds. We know where the fund came from that created this project. And we have accounts that will show where every dollar was spent, and it is we will be presenting that. That's not a special audit that you're requesting, but we are talking about, we will have a complete audit, a complete review of every dollar that was spent, how it happened, and that will be presented when this project is finished.
So after that point of presentation of that, that's when the taxpayers can ask for a special investigative audit to be performed then and stuff? So we have to wait for that?
We don't have it on our agenda, and we're not talking about any special investigative audit of this at this time. But it is our commitment to the taxpayers, to everyone, that there will be a full accounting of how all the monies were collected and how all the monies were spent. So I think I'm speaking as the chair of the board, but we're not really responding today to a question regarding a special audit of. You understand?
No, I understand. You gotta wait till this is all complete, so you have a full accounting type of thing. But with that being said, we know the money has been spent. We're not probably questioning what dollars have been spent. It's actually the actions that led up to the vast amount that's been spent that's far and surpassing of the original $13.5 million general obligation bonds. Because I reported this stuff to even the state of Iowa auditor's office and other offices down in the state and more. And I had asked for one item too in the past, and I would ask that the new supervisors would see to make that come to fruition, where I asked for, the other thing that I asked for was to have the fiduciary duties of the supervisors for yourselves, as well as the treasurer, recorder, auditor, any elected positions that could be passed along to myself, for review as a taxpayer within the county type of thing. But every time I ask for it, I just get told this is where it's at in the thing. No, I want it to be specifically sent to me. The actual even site where it's at embedded in the code or whatever stuff, I don't care, but I want it to actually be sent to me. The fiduciary duties for the supervisors, as well as any of the other elected positions, so the auditor, treasurer, recorder, et cetera.
Okay.
So I don't know if that could be effectuated.
Chapter 331 of the Iowa code. I don't know what more you want.
There isn't a specific one when you get sworn in or whatever, there isn't anything that ties back to a fiduciary duties, so there is no fiduciary duties.
They're listed in the Iowa code.
Yep.
And the oath of office, we have copies of the
And that's what I ran into, and I hate to say this, Blaine, I'm just being sincere, but I got nothing but a lot of obfuscation from you. Correct.
At this time, I think we've heard your public comment. We've indicated that we're not going to respond to calling for a special independent audit. This time, it's not our agenda. We really can't discuss it, and I hope you understand that. This is not we just can't respond to questions.
No, I know you can't.
Regardless if they're kind of related to the issue that we're talking. So I think we understand your concerns and I think we've responded to what you said. So,
Yeah.
all right.
And so can the fiduciary duties though for the role?
I don't know anything about the fiduciary duty that now you're talking about is something that's another issue that, I'm not prepared to respond to that question, Mr. Andrews, this time. I mean, it's really off this agenda item, if you understand. This is an agenda item and you're welcome to comment about the law enforcement center courthouse project, but you've taken 2 steps down the road. And so we're not going to comment about the fiduciary duties of the office holders of Floyd County at this time.
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you. Item 7, Drainage District 3, main open ditch repair. And I believe we have with us on line, there it is. There's Tyler Connolly, representing Bolton and Mink. And what we have on our agenda today is 3 items: take review and action regarding the acceptance of the project specifications. We've had these specifications for a little while here in the office. The second item to be considered is possible review and action regarding the notice to the bidder, setting the date for the bid construction on the project. And the third item is for possible consideration, review and action regarding the interest rate for the stamp warrants, assessments to the property owners, and that. So that's the item of business at this time. I see we have 3 interested landowners, I believe, with us today. We'll turn the meeting over to Tyler, and you can discuss with us all this information that we have. And there's a lot of it, a lot of maps, the project manuals, and give us a briefing, if you will, Tyler.
Yes, good.
Drainage District 3.
Certainly. Good morning, all. Am I coming through well?
Good.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yes, what I've brought before you here is the final plans and specifications for the Drainage District number 3 open ditch repair project. These are the finished, polished, and ready for the consideration by contractors, the repair project as it was outlined in the engineer's report for Drainage District number 3. This project consists of approximately 232 stations. So each station is 100 feet. So that would be 23,200 feet of open ditch excavation. 219 of those stations would be 2-side spoil bank leveling, meaning the dirt would go on both sides of the ditch. There are 13 stations of that ditch where, due to roads and other constraints, the spoil would need to be placed on one side and leveled from there. The ditch would also be within the ditch banks. The plan would also be to reseed and fertilize the disturbed area, as well as placing riprap revetment where it's needed for bank stabilization, and drain pipe extension and surface drain replacement of failing pipes along the ditch length. All the items and the plans, the areas to be investigated and worked on is all outlined in the plans, and the how-tos are in the specifications, in addition to the 2023 SUDIS specifications, which are a statewide adopted set of standard practices. With this, a notice to bidders will need to go out to, the code requires that once a week for 2 consecutive weeks, the notice to bidders be published in the local papers before the bid opening can occur. We also have the plans put up on Quest CDN, an online plan room, and we notify contractors that we have worked with in the past, and Gloria has supplied me a list of excavating contractors as well that would potentially be interested in this work. They all get an email notification or a phone call in the event that they do not have an email contact. We want to get as many eyes on this as possible. With this, after the acceptance of the final plans and specifications, a bid opening date will need to be set. Again, that would need to be at least those 2 publications from the acceptance of the plans and specifications. If that acceptance is made today, in discussions with Gloria and how those notifications would go out, we had preliminarily set August 24th for at 10 a.m. for the bid opening. That's when bids would be, the cutoff date for bids would be. Contractors would all have to have their bids in by then. That date and time is when they would be opened. The numbers get checked, and the lowest responsible bidder would be up for bid consideration preliminarily, again, based on the timeline right now of Tuesday, August 28th at 9 a.m.
Haley, do you mean Tuesday or do you mean Monday?
I believe I mean Monday on that. I think the date is right on that. The day, yep, I mean Monday. My apologies on that. The date is correct. It's still August 28th. It is simply a Monday. The engineer's estimate for the repair project was $590,000. The bid security required by contractors would be 5%. Drainage district projects are exempt from sales tax. So in the event that bids are received and are acceptable, the work that is done is exempt from tax, and that certificate typically comes from the county auditor's office. In the plans and specifications, we have set for the completion date September 30th of next year. The reason for such a date being selected is that that is the cutoff date for the acceptance of fall seeding as it's outlined in the specifications. So we wouldn't want any work being done and seed being placed after that date that would not have the opportunity to take. The liquidated damages have been set in the specifications as $500 per day for every day that the work is not substantially completed following September 30th. Hopefully that isn't a problem and we don't have to worry about it. At the completion of the project, there is also a performance bond, which for 1 year following the completion of the project, the contractor can be made to return for failures due to their negligence. With that, are there any questions? Else, there's on the summary of specifications, there's items 10, 11, and 12. Those are all pertaining to the warrants, the interest rates of the warrants, and the set installments for project payment. Again, the code outlines that for assessments over $500, the amount of time that can be deferred for repayment is no less than 10 and no more than 20 years. But that is typically set for the project as a whole.
Tyler, you mentioned early on in your remarks about talking about the contractors and getting as many eyes upon this possibility for them in preparation for their bid. I have a question for you. If this entire you prepared the document so the bid would be on August 24th. Is there anything that as I understand it, Auditor Carr has to publish this twice in 2 consecutive weeks in the local newspapers? Is there anything that if this entire discussion was delayed or deferred for a week or 10 days, so the actual landowners that are in the district could review all of this material? There's a lot in here. And is there anything that would slow this project down in any way, delay it or increase any costs if this project was just, in essence, tabled for a week or 10 days, so landowners who own property in this could review everything that we have in front of us today?
In short, no. There, you would essentially just be spending those additional week or 10 days. But as far as any actual costs, I don't see 10 days at the front end is a lot different than 10 days at the tail end. There's certainly adjustable schedules and it doesn't impact anything that I do or have done. I do want to clarify that all of these documents do not, because it would be awfully expensive to publish. All these documents do not get published for the notice to bidders. There is in the specifications, there is a specific section, and it's about 2 pages in length. That is the notice to bidders proper. It's actually section 00100. That is the information that is published and the description of work that goes out to the contractors and what they have. I just want to be clear that not all of this information, while it's on file at the auditor's office, the best way to get for a landowner to get a copy of it or anything like that would be to go and speak with Gloria about obtaining a copy. I just want to be clear that in the expectations that we're not putting all of this in the paper.
Certainly, and the fact that there is no requirement by the board to let all the landowners are aware of this. We could take action today, legally, because at the last meeting, we set this process where the project summary and the manual would be, that was the hearing we had. This today is not a hearing regarding this. So there's no legal requirement by the county to actually postpone it and allow for more possibility for input. That's correct too, isn't it?
Correct. The process is just like you stated that since at the hearing, the process was set in motion. And I believe we discussed at the close of the last hearing what the next steps would be. And we are at that first next step, which was the filing of the plans and specifications. Ultimately, really the only changes that have been made to the plans from the engineer's report is that they are cleaner, they are finished, the detail to them is higher, and the considerations by the landowners that had been brought up have been noted and are marked in the plans. The most notable of which was I was approached by some landowners that had riparian CRP that were impacting the limit of tree removal in some areas. They also let me know about a well, and there was a landowner that had requested a concrete lane not be used and their lawn be avoided if at all possible. So those notes have all been made onto the plans. The information that I had, again, from those landowners, I went through and made sure made its way onto the plans and specifications. And that is really the bulk of the change or any difference that anyone would see from these compared to the engineer's report preliminary plans.
So I'm just thinking, if with that answer, there's no requirement. However, this board has a standard practice of open and transparency, and we are the trustees working on behalf of the approximate 100 landowners here. I'm just thinking that if this was made available and we could schedule a meeting when Tyler could return and we could take action on this if we're not actually doing anything that's going to slow or increase the cost of the project. Just as a courtesy to those landowners, and so we get full input as the trustees of this district, that we consider deferring any action at a later time and letting those landowners know that this will all continue at a different date sometime soon in the future. Just like the board's thoughts on that. I'm throwing something out here, but what do you think of that?
You're saying to give it a little more time in order to allow some landowners to,
If someone wants to come see this,
yeah,
there's a lot here, and I don't think hardly anyone's really looked at this in detail that it is at now. It just affords an opportunity to come and express their opinions.
There's a lot of information in here, and I did go through, spent some time on it yesterday, and takes some time to comprehend everything. And the landowners haven't had an opportunity to see yet, and I think they deserve that at a minimum if they want to, if they have the interest in it. The other question I have for Tyler would be, when you mentioned letting bids, Tyler, you said that there would be notices in the paper and emails sent out to local contractors and people you've worked with in the past. I would like to keep the money local that's spent on this project, and I would like to have the email go out to local contractors before it goes out to other people you've worked with in the past that may not be from the area. I want the money that like I said, I would like the money that's being spent on this, stay in the county or stay locally.
What would you call a local area?
Well, within a 35 mile radius.
Okay.
Instead of
Understood.
go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, I wanted to make a remark, you are understood.
We didn't hear that part, excuse me. Say
Oh,
it again.
I understand, and I have noted the comment about the money being spent locally and getting an email out to those contractors as the priority.
Can I ask a question about that? Can I ask-
Chair recognizes Audrey Carr.
Tyler, is there anything to, by the way, I just emailed when Tyler mentioned about the local people. I just emailed you all a list of who I provided to Tyler, for, local people and, but I guess my question is like Rognus Brothers, for example, has had several projects, and I don't know that they're within 30 miles, but they've gotten a low bid, such like on drainage district number 1, for example. A local bidder was, do you remember on drainage 1, I think a local bidder was $200,000 over the lowest bid, and was also higher than the estimated cost of the project. So is that something that you want to be considered when those bids are open, that you would take a local
I think
person?
In a case like that, we need to go back to that bidder and ask him if he would consider doing it for a lesser amount than what they submitted as a bid. I'm not saying we have to go with somebody if they're $200,000 or $300,000 higher. I'm not saying that, but
That's what I'm just asking that question. And what is with competitive bid processes, what would be appropriate?
I sometimes,
For notifying, even the notifications that you email one sector earlier than notifying the next sector. Or competitive bid processes.
or can there be more than one contractor work on removing the trees? Does it have to be just one contractor? Can it be two?
That I need to defer you to your legal representation for that, but as the specifications state, the board can select any or none or any combination of the bids that they see in the best interest of the district. So I think you'd be within your rights to split if you saw a significant difference in tree removal versus the rest of the project. And because those would be done on different time frames, essentially as I see it, the tree removal would need to be done before the ditch cleaning was, certainly before it was completed. I believe there's room for a division of labor there. But I don't, ultimately, I don't control who sees this definitely, and I don't control what those bids come in at. So that's something you wouldn't know until everything had been opened.
So if a local contractor is higher, and is it an appropriate, maybe this is a legal question as well, is it appropriate to go to that local contractor and say, you're higher, will you come down? Is that, do you see that happen in competitive bidding processes?
That is not something I've ever seen. Again, I would consult with your legal guidance on that, but that's not anything I've ever seen, and I I don't know that that would be well received by the actual, in this hypothetical situation, the actual lowest bidder.
Then just, I think one more question I would have is, if this were to be pieced out with tree removal versus ditch cleaning, do the bid specifications go out with more than one way to submit bids? Say, you know, if they have the whole project, they might give a better deal than if they say, okay, you get to do the ditch clean out, but you don't get to do the tree removal. Are they notified that there's,
There is not currently in the plans and specifications a provision that allows for a partial completion of a bid submittal. The specifications as they state right now is that the complete proposal must be completed to be considered. There are changes that could be made. We could have the item broken out for just tree removal. But I see the whole situation of breaking it up in any way. I see it being complicated to the extent that it would need to be very economical for the district to consider it.
Any further discussion on this particular point about the bidding process? Or the idea of breaking it out into segments?
I like your,
Scott had his arm up.
Well, I was asking first from the board.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I like the idea of trying to keep this local, and really do. But I do wonder if it would compromise some of the bids, if they would feel all I'm doing is setting a low bid, and then the next guy gets to come in and match it. Is that something that would potentially keep some low bidders out? Nothing more I'd like to see than somebody right here in Floyd County do the project. At the same time, we gotta hopefully get this project done as reasonable and efficiently and cheap as we can, effectively. I gotta have mixed emotions on that, how that would play out. As far as splitting the project out, piecing it out, I think it's probably more efficient to have their crew and their equipment there doing it all. I would assume we would probably get more competitive bids as a complete and sweep type deal. That's my only comment.
Scott Andrews, recognized.
And my only question was actually for Tyler. Do you actually find ever though that sometimes when the bids are submitted, just like Lori had commented, like it got one that was a local, that was over 200K more or whatever type of thing or something. You find that actually if you really bound it down, it became to a matter of you were hitting bids, it was apples versus oranges. Maybe the one that was local was actually submitting a bid and was taking into consideration, making sure that they covered all their bases with the bid, but the other one that's an out of area contractor, their bid ends up, they basically, it's called lowball. They submit the lowest bid so they get it, and then afterwards, they're like, well, that wasn't specified in what I actually had submitted and stuff, and then by the time you get the dust settles, you're back to where the local producer provider would have been about the same dollars. Do you ever find that happening?
There's always a potential for something like that, but the room for change orders on these projects is typically pretty small, unless there's a significant amount more pipe work that needs to be done along the length of the ditch, and in those events, it would be items that either the low or the high bidder would have to have completed, and they would complete at the rate that they had originally quoted. The specifications do state that there will be no consideration for a change of bid price due to an increase or decrease in contract quantity. So it's on some of these items that are estimates, as for example, the tile extensions into the open ditch, the estimated value based on our survey's findings is certainly not all of them, and not all of them may need to be done. So any sort of adjustments or changes would be in number only and not in bid price. So again, whether you were the high bidder or the low bidder, the number amount would change, but your bid price doesn't. And there's not many additional items that could be added to one of these projects that a bidder would not have known about and not have been responsible for.
My follow-up to that then, and I understand what you're saying is they, who makes the assessment that the full scope is being covered by their bids?
Could I, one more time?
Okay, so you send out the bids, and they submit back their bid. It's the actual scope of the work that they're bidding on. Who is the one that's gonna be reviewing this to determine, make sure that they're covering everything and they know what they're being held to? Who makes that determination?
That way, from our end, we've gone through and done the plans and specifications and outlined what the contractor's responsibilities are, what the requirements are, and what they will inevitably be held responsible for. What the contractor goes through and deems as their price for those responsibilities is their responsibility. That's if they have additional questions or comments or would like something clarified more, they have a responsibility to come and ask those questions. Else they're at the mercy of the bidding process, for lack of a better term.
So it's your firm that's gonna hold them accountable to the standards then?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
So Tyler, is the process, once a bid is awarded, before any payment is approved, it has to go through you to make sure the work's been completed. And then the Board of Supervisors have to approve those payouts for those stages of the project. Is that correct?
Correct. We have, it's not 100% inspection. You wouldn't want us out there all the time, just for a cost standpoint. Also, it's pretty uniform work, not much changes on a day-to-day or hour-by-hour basis, but we do once or twice weekly check-ins on these projects as they progress. We keep track of their quantities to make sure that their quantities that they submit match the quantities that we have observed. We evaluate the conditions, how they're doing, and we make corrections and changes as necessary as we go. But it is not there is a big system of checks and balances to make sure that the district is getting what the plans and specifications have outlined that they will get.
Chair recognizes Merlin Schweitzer.
Tyler. On the tile lines that go into the ditch, who pays to fix them?
On a project like this, a full ditch cleanout, there typically, and by typically, I mean every ditch project I've been involved in, the district has paid for the replacement of those facility lines, the entrance pipes, as a function of protection of the facility, to make sure that the pipes are replaced, they're replaced adequately and in a way that they are not damaging the facility, the main open ditch that has just been repaired.
According to Iowa Code 468, 126.3, it says the district does not pay for private tile. There are only 12 laterals that belong to the district. And they were the only tile that the district gets paid for, and they should be paid by the people on that lateral, not the whole district. That's what your reclassification was for, that people on that lateral will pay to have that lateral fixed. And according to the code, the district does not pay for private tile.
This is a follow-up to that question that Mr. Schweitzer just asked. So will that change the bids that you're going to be sending out?
If the trustees would like to see a change in the treatment of those tile extensions, a change to the plans and specifications would need to be made.
Well, then I would offer up that it appears to me that we need to go back somewhat to the proverbial drawing board and identify what the district should be responsible for paying.
At this point, there's been a legal question brought up by a landowner in the district. We're talking about bids and specifications. And in general, we're talking about the entire project. I just want to, we don't have our legal, the attorney that is in charge of this district with us today. We don't have county attorney Todd Pritchard referenced here. So I don't want to start making assumptions based on things that I'm being brought to me. I don't think this board should be making assumptions on changing the project based on what we are learning today, whether it's accurate or not, because we want to ensure that we're doing this legally correct. And so
Thank you.
I think that there's a number of important things have been discussed. And it kind of leads me back to where this situation, where this discussion fully started. Perhaps, and it's my belief, in fact, that we should resume, set a date when in the near future that won't delay this project, won't cost it anymore, which is what I was told has happened, and allow for the landowners to reference any of the materials that we're considering, determine any comments they might have, any questions for the board. And to further that, we obviously would need to have you here at that time, Tyler. What date could you be here in a week, 10 days from now, where we could further this discussion where we're at right now before taking any action regarding any of the particulars? When are you available? We typically meet on Mondays. Our next meeting would be on August 7th, but we could call a meeting on another day to help ensure the timeliness of it, but we need you to be here. When are you available to attend a meeting, a kind of a continuance of this?
I am unavailable the 7th. The next Monday I would be available would be the 14th. But the week of the 7th, I am available. The 8th and 9th would be the soonest that I would have availability around the 7th.
This is just a question for the board, but, we want to resolve this in a timely manner. We want to keep the process moving. What do you think about holding a meeting on Tuesday, August 8th, which would be our next really regularly scheduled meeting would be the 7th. If we delayed that to the 8th, when Kyler was here, we could take this up as just an regular order of business at that time. That sounds. Or is the board available on Tuesday, August 8th?
I would be.
I think I can be. I have an appointment. I have to flex around, but I think I can make that work. I'm pretty sure I can. I'll go with it.
It sounds like a temporary resolution that allows a lot more people, a lot of more eyes to look at this. We could consider and have the attorney for the drainage district review the comments that were made by one of the landowners. And I think we'd be in a better position to move forward at that time.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Tyler, as far as private tiles that might be affected with this open ditch project, that's just, so two parts to this. What's happening with those private tiles? If anything, private tiles would be affected in this open ditch project. Is the project saying, because we're doing this, we're going to do work on any of those private tiles that were affected because of this project? And does the project have any of the laterals that are part of the mutual ditch that are affected with this open ditch project?
Yes, and I can speak to that as I have understood it and have had it explained to me, and how it's been done in very similar ditch projects like this, that because the project is going on and there's the disturbance of the facility in a repair manner, we are not doing anything to the private tiles or to the laterals except for replacing what is essentially the last 20 feet that outlets into the open ditch facility. And we're doing that as part of the repair project to make sure that those are all functioning and that they are not in any way causing other erosion or riffling effects down the ditch that would lead to increased or accelerated facility aging. So those, in every project like this, I've seen them be done as part of the repair and be assessed as part of the open ditch repair project. More significant work done to any of the laterals or any failures that way for any more significant length, I agree, should be assessed to the lateral facilities as they are presented in the reclassification report. But the work regarding the condition and health of the ditch facility has always been explained to me as an open ditch assessment cost. So to be consistent, from project to project and between district to district, I've outlined it as we have on projects past.
So outside of having a project like we have, if there was an issue with a private tile, we wouldn't be coming to the Board of Supervisors even.
No.
Right, and if there was a lateral, the supervisors would just be addressing that lateral, but it's only because of this project to ensure that the 20 feet area around this project is being considered. Seems reasonable to cover it under the project.
That was and has been my interpretation.
Well, to the point that I was making about essentially what this is leading to is taking action on this issue until a time certain, which could be Tuesday, August 8th, when Tyler's here. One part of what I see as a solution to today's agenda item. And secondly, although it's not required in any means to notify the landowners of that date. Not everyone reads the paper. Not everyone reads our minutes. I would propose, there are how many landowners in this entire district? 100 virtually? How many? It's not about that, isn't it?
I think so, 90 to 100, I recall.
I can't get to the file. Do you know how many parcels there are in this district, Tyler, offhand?
No, sorry. Off the top of my head, I am not aware.
So if you remember the reclassification report, there was like 6 pages that were open ditch property owners, something like that. So that's the notifications.
And I think that total was 100 or less.
I think so.
Yeah, so what I'm leading up to is, in addition to deferring action, tabling this action, a letter could be sent from the Board of Supervisors notifying those landowners of the action to be considered at the Tuesday, August 8th meeting. I think cost of the stamp and providing a mailing to them would be a good idea at this stage, because some issues have arisen here this morning.
Could it be a postcard to save the district money like we use postcards in the past?
Certainly, it could be a postcard. It's just a written notification that we're having a meeting, so they want to attend. And also in that postcard, note that the plans are available at the auditor's office for review at any time between now and then. It's going above and beyond any legal requirement we have, but I think this project's been going on through 2 separate boards of supervisors. It's a long time to get to here. Let's not rush it to the point that not everyone is aware of what's being done and when we do take action. So I'll make a motion that we table further consideration of this action today on Drainage District 3 until Tuesday, August 8th, and send a postcard notification to the landowners in the district, notify them of that date of the meeting. Probably considering there's 100 landowners, why don't we just see if we can have this meeting room? Hopefully by then we'll be in our boardroom, but there certainly would maybe not be enough there. And that that notification include the ability by any landowner or anyone to review all these specifications anytime at the auditor's office. That's a motion.
What time?
Tuesday, August 8th sometime. Well, that's when we'd have a regular scheduled meeting at 9. We put it on our agenda. I don't know if we need to have a specific time on the agenda, but we'll meet on the 8th. If you want to make it a special time, we can do that. It's up to the board.
just so they know what time they need to be here,
Okay.
9:30, 9:15,
Sure.
just to put
Something
it
like
in the postcard.
9:30 is fine. If we got a couple things to mention to get in the postcard, then when the time and place of the meeting would be, it's not a hearing, it's a meeting. We're taking action, and if anyone would be available. And if anyone could see these plans at any time. Heidi? Yeah.
I just wanted to note that you do have a scheduled issuance resolution for the upcoming bonds on
All right.
the 7th. I will have to confirm with your bond counsel, Dorsey and Whitney, that we can still meet the closing if you want to move from the regularly scheduled meeting from the 7th to the 8th. I'll just have to. confirm
Okay,
that.
good point. And when can we do that? When do we need to, how can we confirm that?
I'll go ahead and send them an email and see if we can get a response back, if we can still meet that closing deadline, and I can get back to you.
Could I propose you have the meeting on the 7th and you just do a drainage specification issue on the 8th? And then it doesn't cause any changes with the,
Just want to make sure you schedule
Okay,
those
thank you for
bonds,
that.
but yeah, close those bonds
Absolutely.
by that
Absolutely
August date that
important.
you need to.
Thank you for bringing that up. So then, in fact, what we'd have a special meeting the following day regarding specifically and only to the issues of drainage district three. And that would resolve any complication.
Possible
Yes.
complication. Yep. Thank you.
That's
Sounds good. So 2 meetings, 7th and 8th.
7, 8, yeah.
So I think, I don't think I need to change my motion as a result of that, because it doesn't affect any date of our meeting, other than we have a meeting at 9 o'clock on Tuesday, 10 o'clock, we're not in the fields yet. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock,
If you're gonna have it, it doesn't matter unless you're gonna have it 7 o'clock at night.
all right. All right, the motion will include then the meeting on the drainage district will occur at 9 AM,
On the 8th.
on Tuesday, I would say.
I'll second.
All right, been moved by Supervisor Keeling, seconded by Jorgensen to table action on drainage district 3 today to a date certain on Tuesday, August 8th at 9 AM. And send notification out to all the landowners in the district that they can review the plans at any time prior to that at the auditor's office. Further discussion. Anyone listening on the phone? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yes.
You wanna hang on, Tyler, yet a little bit
Yes.
too?
Okay.
Yep.
Supervisor Keeper.
There's some emails that I shared, one of their Gloria sent out regarding Mr. Ranker doing some beaver dam removal and tree removal at his own expense. And he's asking if I understand, Tom, for the county to pay for that. So,
The district,
or the district or whatever. Have you got any bills or anything yet?
yeah, I got one,
Oh, you got them? Okay,
Laura's got it.
okay.
And I would just caution that I think you need to make sure that people understand the processes, that they can't just go out and hire someone to do work in a mutual district. Mr. Amker was aware of this project and chose to do this even though he was aware of the project. You have to be careful of letting people just go out and do the work in the district without coming to the formal process of the trustees. I did check with Tyler on whether he thought this would have impact, and you want your response, I think I forwarded your response to the supervisors on that. That it'll just shake out in the specifications, that will be just that much less work for the bidders to bid on. That.
Yeah, that's more or less the very brief explanation of my comments there. The specifications don't get that in depth of that there's this many beaver dams and this much debris and everything like that. So upon review by the contractors of what's going to be required, that'll just be less to note to be done.
Yes,
So there's been no harm done to the district or to the county by what's occurred, correct? And the expense would have happened anyway with the project a year from now or 2 years from now, whenever it's gonna happen.
Yeah, but you're kind of setting a precedence of what you allow property owners to do in a mutual district.
Well, I would raise the
excuse
issue.
me, yes, we have to state our names
Okay.
and be recognized. Thank you, Scott. You're
Scott
recognized.
Andrews, but what I would state though is the local landowners cannot be held hostage by whatever, they have immediate concerns, they have to be able to address it. I think that's what Supervisor Kiefer was basically alluding to.
He's being a good steward of the land, in my opinion.
Exactly.
And shouldn't be penalized for it, and I don't think we need to worry about the future.
Exactly.
Yes, Trevor Hodges, I'm around.
I took this beaver dam removal project on my own. After 3 or 4 years of contacting the other supervisors and what's his name, Hopper, Kelvin. And they were down and looked at it. And my boy called, who was the last Jam about it. So he contacted Lobby and took over for Calvin. And my boy understood that was too big a project for those 2 or 3 dams in my section of the ditch, which was the only section that was really, they were involved in the beaver. So when I come to the meeting, he said, well, nothing's gonna happen for at least a year, until this summer. Well, this was in December when they came in there and he spent about 3 hours. Actual, well, time he got there, it totaled up like 6, 7 hours. After he did my half the ditch, Siskey Farms had the other half of the ditch. He loaded up, moved around both sides, grubbed them out, threw them up on the garbage up on the bank, and everything was working fine. The water level dropped about 4 to 6 feet. Okay. So then I couldn't wait any longer after that. Reasonable. I thought it was reasonable at the time for something getting done. Because our tile weren't working. We left tracks in the field of beans a year ago when we took the beans out of next to the ditch area. So what was I supposed to do? Wait another year and not get any advantage out of my tile or anything? And have the effect of the tile to the west, where there is no ditch, what my property is where the ditch starts. So what would you guys have done after 3 or 4 years of trying to get something which you didn't? Nobody wanted to clean a ditch, and probably nobody still wants to clean the ditch. It would be the county or the landowners, but I know I pay taxes on that ditch at a different rate. Maybe there should have been a fund established with the tax money 100 years ago, so we had some money to go on and keep this ditch going instead of the money going into the general fund. I'm sure that's where the money's going now with the taxes. As far as I'm concerned, the general fund is responsible for this whole, who's gonna pay for it? They leave anything out?
The general fund is not responsible for drainage work. The drainage work is the benefit of the property owners, not all the entire county.
If they don't be responsible, why are they taking the tax money then? Like this money being going into a fund?
When there's work done in the district, you are assessed for the work done in the district. And that money stays in the fund affairs. If the supervisors assess higher than what the bill is, it goes there. I think my issue more is that, Tom was at 2 meetings with this project. And in December, when he had the work done, he hadn't mentioned prior to the prior meeting that he was gonna hire Sergeant to do the work. And the meeting he came to after December 12th, he never mentioned, I hired Sergeant to do the work.
Well, you claimed I owned the debt, the property owner, why should I have to contact you? After a reasonable length of time of 3 to 4 years of waiting for something to happen, and that's never happened.
I don't recall at any meeting ever anyone saying that, the property owner owned the ditch. It's still a mutual ditch.
They don't own the ditch, but they own their farmland, and they're, to be good stewards of the land, they take care of it. And then I can't think of a better way to explain it.
I'm just saying that property owner should be contacting you to say, I'm hiring somebody, or not after the fact. You are the trustees, you are the ones responsible for work getting done in the ditch. And it's just, if coming to 2 meetings, he didn't mention, I'm hiring or I hired. That's,
You didn't have these meetings 3 or 4 years ago.
didn't have it.
You weren't having these kind of meetings 3 or 4 years ago, right?
Yeah,
She might complain.
but in December of 22, we
Yeah.
did.
And you said yesterday was a nesting.
That way,
When was this nesting? What meeting was that at? I was at that meeting. Is that the meeting where we got the video and everything and the guy?
the meeting
Drone.
with the video, well, Tyler showed it at parts of the video at 2 different.
When was that
meetings.
meeting? What month was that in?
Yeah, it showed it at 2 different meetings. I don't,
March was one of them, I think.
March of this year,
No, 22.
March of 22, and then he showed pieces of it at other meetings as well. Jim, have you
I've
seen
been,
it?
I've seen
Yeah.
it.
Well, whatever the work's got done. After a reasonable length of time, nothing was happening, and you and I didn't do any more than what anybody else would have done.
I just caution you as trustees, when you are responsible for the ditch of allowing property owners to do something without coming to you first and then expecting you to cover the bill for it, the ditch to cover the bill for it. They need to follow the processes, and I think somehow that message needs to be communicated to those property owners. You know, this project has been delayed, but part of it's been delayed because of the property owners asking for it to wait until the fall instead of doing it in the summer or spring because of nesting season. It's being delayed right now because we're gonna wait another 10 days or whatever to get, the specifications, opportunity for the property owners to review the specifications. It's all fine, but I know government doesn't always work fast. But
That's why I
this has
went in
been
there.
mutual with the property owners to put delays in as well as supervisors to put delays in. Just,
Is the item we're discussing up for consideration to pay the bill to sergeants now? Is that what we're discussing? I understand the case of it, but we have a bill in front of us for $720.
Do I have to,
And then is that our discussion, whether we're going to authorize that today?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
so this is not on the agenda because Tom said he would bring the bill into me on Monday. And he didn't bring it in until yesterday afternoon. So I wasn't aware why he didn't bring, because I had asked him to bring the bill in. So Tyler can review it to make sure that the work that was done, if there's anything that affects the specifications. And when it wasn't brought in, I thought, well, maybe he's decided he's gonna pay the money himself or, but since it didn't come in, it didn't get put on the agenda. So that's what I sent the email yesterday to you when I forwarded you his bill and said, this isn't on the agenda because the bill wasn't received.
All right,
So it could be on a future agenda item is what I had said.
all right, that was my question. I'm understanding the entire process. So it's not here for review and action today. It's just I understand what's happened, but yeah, on the other side, you have to understand, we just can't take action if something's not on the agenda, especially when it's going to affect, well, if we did, then it would change the bids process. That's the way you gentlemen are seeing it?
Yeah, I see both sides, but we have obligations as trustees to do, as Lori explained. I fully understand the reason for going out and getting that water movement. But as trustees, we have to jump through a certain amount of hoops to make things happen too, and
The trustees had 3 or 4 years to do something about this, but
I'm not aware that it was ever brought up 3 or 4 years ago in my time here. When it was brought up, that was put on the agenda.
I don't doubt the gentleman. I would ask that you guys probably put it as an agenda item for the next meeting, and then it can be addressed to pay the darn thing, because it sounds like this gentleman went above and beyond. He's been very patient. We do come to a point where you just need to take action. You can't be held hostage. So please just put on the agenda.
I think, General, that's a good, resolution for right now. I think Tom understands, we can't take action on it. We just can't today. And I understand what you're saying, but you have to understand, it's not our agenda to take action. We just can't do it regardless of how long it's existed. So I think a good point and a good resolution of this is already in the works. We're gonna have a meeting. At that meeting, we're gonna set up these same 3 things that are on the agenda for today, review and action regarding the acceptance of the project. At that time, it could be decided whether the work that was done prior to this is included in that project or not. It really is not gonna be that, in this decision. That would affect the amount by $720 of the project. I don't think this is that difficult an issue to resolve at the meeting on Tuesday, August 8th with this understanding. So with that, is there any further discussion regarding this particular part of it? Or we're not taking action, so.
I just have one thing I'd like to comment, possibly with these cards going out.
Yeah,
Would it be appropriate to add a sentence or two about landowners getting ready to attempt to do work to make sure they acknowledge trustees?
well, we've already passed the motion. And, so it's been changed, so I don't think at this time we'd have to go back and add something to the postcard.
Okay,
Certainly could be reflected in the minutes of the meeting that we discussed it, because we thoroughly have. But, it could be certainly be a topic at the meeting on August 8th, because we're gonna decide on this issue as well.
fair enough.
Does that sound good?
Fair enough.
All right. All right. This time we're gonna skip over item, let's see, 8, 9, and we're moving to item 10, which is review and action regarding resolution 31-23 approving the bond purchase agreement for sale of general obligation emergency communication bonds. And that is the reason why we called this special meeting, or we called this meeting at a date that would accommodate what we need to get done today.
Good.
So Heidi Cool is here from Northland Security to talk about what I perceive as some pretty good news. I'm aware that we have maintained our A- bond rating from Standard & Poor's, and we have a rate in front of us today. And you can discuss that, Heidi. So I'll turn the section of the meeting over to you.
Thank you. So the board has in front of you 2 documents. One is a summary of the sale, and then also the contract that will lock in the interest. And as I did want to share the good news that the county did maintain its AA- rating. And congratulations to the county on that. We had a rating call last week, and they noted very good information about the county's financial practices, including its financial liquidity and its debt ratios. So your debt ratios are low, you have good liquidity, you have that 25% expected carryover that you try to meet each year, and you are exceeding that, which the S&P looks on very, very, very. So, you know, congratulations on those items. All of the things from a management standpoint, they have given you this standard okay on that as well. So everything that the county can control received high marks. So congratulations there. If, you know, I always get the question is, how could we higher our rating? And Corey, did you receive the full report at this point or just the draft? And if the board doesn't have it, they can take a look yet, but it was saying, hey, you know, to get a higher rating than what the county has at this point, you have to have a significant valuation growth within your county to kind of broaden the total value. So that's a little bit, you know, out of the county, you know, the county's control, but we received very high marks. So I wanted to share that information first with the board. So
Is there an A+ rating?
there's an A+
Is that the
rating.
highest?
A AA- is a notch higher than A+.
Oh,
And then there are additional ratings, AA+, and AAA. So for a county of your size, a AA- is really kind of the highest rating that we see with this type of valuation. So it's the lowest rating. The lowest rating, it goes all the way down to A- or junk bonds. You know, there's triple Bs and things like that, but there are just a couple counties that do have all the way down to the A-. So like I said, congratulations. In front of you today, I have a bond sale summary, as well as this contract, with the resolution that you've received from your bond counsel, Dorsey and Whitney, that will allow you to sign this contract and lock in the interest rate. So again, these general obligation bonds are to finance the emergency equipment for the bonds, and it is structured over a level debt service for 10 years. There will be a first interest payment that, since it will be in June 1 of 2024, part of that will be paid with bond proceeds and part of that will be paid with cash contribution. There is an optional call date, June 1 of 2031. At that point, if interest rates have reduced at that point, you could refinance those last 3 years of maturities, or you can prepay and pay them off at that time. The payments are fixed for those first 7 years.
Can you explain to the board about the $4,830,000?
Yes, absolutely. And then I will say that the true interest cost rate that the county is receiving is 3.47%, as compared to what we reviewed a few weeks ago, at about 3.65%. So right in line, a little bit better than what we had projected. On page 3, I have an exhibit A and an exhibit B that will talk about the actual amount that you've borrowed. And I'll go through details. If you have any questions, just go ahead and stop me. But the amount that the county will be borrowing is based off of a $4,830,000. And then there's a reoffering premium of $301,000. Down below there, that $83,000 of additional required equity contribution, that is the expected cash contribution for the first interest payment. Down below, you'll see that the deposit to the construction fund for this communications equipment is $4,950,000. With that first interest payment of $167,000. The underwriter's discount, which is slightly lower than what I had projected. And then the total cost of issuance, including legal fees, S&P fees, and then the rounding amount as bonds are sold in $5,000 increments will also go into the county's construction fund. We're receiving that $4,950,000. And then I'll talk a little bit about that reoffering premium down here in Exhibit B. So you'll see each of the maturities starting in June 1 of 25, all the way to June 1 of 2034. Then a couple columns over, you'll see a coupon, which goes from a 5, there's one 3.1 and a 4, and then there's the yield column. The yield column is the rate that the county is paying. But you'll see that you're borrowing less than actually what you're receiving into the funds. That is because in today's interest rate market for tax exempt bonds, investors are paying what is called a premium in order to get these coupons, these 5% and these 4%. So the investors will be paying an additional $301,000 upfront in order to get these interest rates. What's for you to kind of focus in on is the net effect of that premium is this yield column from 3.35 to 3.2, 3.1, and then all the way up to 3.35. The cost that I gave you for 3.47 does include the costs associated with the bond, so it kind of takes the aggregate of everything and puts the cost in. I did go over that premium portion, but basically what it is you're borrowing less from a par amount. Investors are paying you a premium, just a $300,000 for those higher coupons. And that yield is that net effect. It's just a function in the market, because if interest rates do go up, investors will have those higher interest rates in their portfolios and will be realizing losses with the lower interest rates that are in the municipal bond market right now. Just to give you kind of some information of where municipals are compared to U.S. Treasuries. The 2-year Treasuries as of yesterday was 4.935. And the 10-year was just over 4%. So with the municipal rates, with your rating, give you a very, very good cost of financing. And we're very pleased with the results that the county received. Exhibit C has the debt schedule and that repayment schedule that has that interest payment for 6/1 of 2024, and then approximately $605,000 in payments from June 1st of 25 to 2034. Exhibit D does show that tax rate of just about 57 cents per thousand based off of your most recent taxable value for debt service. That will be put in place for not this current fiscal year, but next fiscal year in order to pay back these loans.
And then you'll also have the interest on those bonds that will be sitting in the bond fund as well, to go towards the project or could pay for debt service or other emergency equipment or expenditures. Right. Yeah. And so at a future meeting, we'll be doing a resolution establishing a project fund in August, and then as well, we need to do a budget amendment to start spending that money as well. We do have some bills that we need to pay also on it, but just pay out of general fund and then reimburse from the project fund.
All right, are there any questions from Variety?
If there are not, I'll just talk about from the next standpoint, how things will go forward is, you'll have that issuance resolution on August 7th, which takes everything that you've done to this date, all of the steps you've taken, including the official statement, locking in the interest rates. Your bond counsel, Dorsey Whitney, will put all of this into a legal form, or it will have a stack of papers that is pretty thick. And you'll have a lot of signatures, similar to if you're going into a mortgage, but it'll be putting everything in that legal form and signing it, giving the county clear to close. The board does not have to meet when you close, but the wire is expected to be sent on August 22nd. So the funds will be in place by that contract date, which was August 24th.
But I think if you sign that contract August 21st board meeting.
Okay. And that still should work. With these being bonds in the market, should the board approve this resolution today, I will ask that the board does sign this so I can take a copy with me, as we're required to disseminate out the interest rate that the county received within 2 hours of board approval. So I'll just ask if the board approves that I can take a copy with me right away, so we can kind of get working on things to stay within regulations.
Mm-hmm.
And just as an update also, I think Jen's here because of the 911 meeting, on Thursday this week. As was mentioned in the meetings, the 911 meetings, and as you recall probably, and then also in the Board of Supervisors meetings that, that Ben Chatfield had mentioned that he thinks they can reduce the cost of, they can forego some things in their maintenance contract. And because it's $1.2 million for years 2 through 6. And so he thinks that they can reduce some of the, take a risk and reduce some of those maintenance and support service fees. But in doing that, it does make, that's a bundled package, and that does make the bundled discount won't be as great, but not, you know, if they reduce $100,000 in maintenance support costs, it doesn't mean your discount is reduced to 100,000, but some factor of that.
I think there's a percentage.
Yeah, and so that will, the contract that you were provided before will likely be a different contract, but that's what, one of the discussions at the 911 meeting on Thursday. And then Sherry will work on that, those revisions for a contract for you to consider at the August 21st.
Any other questions, comments?
Don't have any.
We need a motion.
So in your packet, you have the resolution,
Yes.
and that resolution, as Heidi said, is what allows you, for the chair, to sign this document. So the motion would be to approve the resolution.
3123.
Yes.
I will make a motion to approve resolution number 3123, approving a bond purchase agreement for the sale of general obligation emergency communication bond series 2023A.
I'll second.
All right, motion has been made, second to approve resolution 31-23. Auditor Carr, would you call the roll?
Keeper,
Aye.
Jorgensen.
Aye.
Human.
Aye. The resolution is passed. All right. Don't forget to sign.
I'll bring you an extra copy, so
Okay.
you can keep one on hand and I'll take
All
one.
right, very good. Okay.
I just.
Contract is all.
Okay.
But then you give an update.
That's the
Hearing none.
only signature there, this one here. Gloria, I need you to sign that, and then there is a timestamp, so you can go ahead and put 10:50 right there as well. That will be yours. Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Congratulations again. Are you good, Gloria? Are you coming on Zoom or not? I'll probably jump on the Zoom, for any questions. We did that today. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Hetty.
You're welcome.
We'll move back to, agenda item 8, which is review action regarding the contract for the Victor Avenue Bridge Conversion Project. Well, welcome, Duane.
Right,
You're here to present that?
yeah, excuse me.
All right.
So last Tuesday, the Department of Transportation's where the bids were held. Minimum construction was the lowest bidder at $1,699,701.65. The estimate was at $1,908,000 approximately, so they were $280,000 under the estimate. We had actually the highest amount of bidders we've ever had on a bid project for a bridge. There were 7 people that bid on it. So we're pretty comfortable knowing we got a really good bid on it. Being also that it's almost $300,000 under the estimate as well. So I guess that's the part where we're at now is to accept and award the contract to Minnow.
Do you have a bid sheet?
I have the numbers, I can get you that, it's written on mine.
Scan it to me or something.
I'll do that. Yeah,
We don't have those bids in our agenda then, do
You're
we?
not getting the
Okay.
Good, did you have one in
well, you had the total of the low bid for them,
there? Right,
we just,
that's just in your agenda item.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not in our package, no.
That's right.
the second lowest bidder actually was $150,000 less than Minoa. And then from there up to the 7th, they were within $14,000 apiece. So they were very competitive amongst each other on that part of it. There were a couple questions about precast versus a build-in-place, cast-in-place box. But it wasn't, it was a pretty straightforward bid. So they just felt they could do it cheaper.
All right, is there a motion to consider the low bid?
Make a motion to approve low bid of minimal construction, Harmony, Minnesota for $1,699,701.65.
A second.
All right, it's been moved by Supervisor Jorgensen, second by Kiefer to accept the low bid for the Victory Avenue Bridge conversion. Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Next item 9, review action regarding payment to Zimmerman Digging and Demo LLC for cleanup of the Tesh property and special assessment to the property owner. Tesh was the low bidder on this. We discussed this at a previous meeting. The reference to the special assessment to the property owner, ought to refer, what is that reference made for?
Yeah, so I didn't know that I would, I had asked Todd if he could work with me or talk with me, and I didn't think I was gonna have information, but his trial yesterday ended a little earlier, so we did visit. I had gotten information from, Jesse, in the treasurer's office on, I've not had a special assessment other than like drainage district stuff and what they received. So she provided me with some information on what the city of Charles City has had for special assessments with mowing lawns and snow removal type things. And I ran those by Todd and I said, does this need to go in front of the board of supervisors for assessing the property owner? And he said, just this, I didn't put the samples from the city in the packet, but nothing needs to come to the board of supervisors to assess the property owner. It's just a certification of the bill that was paid, or that will be paid after today. I'll do that certification today and get that to Jesse, and the supporting documents to it will be, I got a court order from Jeff that shows that the county had the right to go in and do this work. And I'll attach that with the invoice and the certification notice for Jesse. So no action needs to be done by the board on assessing the property. I also did visit with Jeff to see if there were any other expenses. He didn't have anything else. Todd said there might have been some cost for court process, but he said he wouldn't worry about those. So the only bill we're looking at to assess is just that Zimmerman digging and demo bill for $8,500. So today, what I'm just looking for is just your direction on where you would like us to pay this bill out of. This happened through the nuisance order process through Board of Health, so it could go through just budget. But that would have to be amended because it's not a large enough budget to absorb that, which we do have an amendment coming that we'll be doing here because of the bonding process. So it could come out of that one if you want it to be addressed there. Or we could pay it out of General Services Department 51. Thank you, Mike. And I'm just looking for direction. Do you have a preference on where I pay it out of?
Assumption would be general services. I don't know.
Yeah, wherever we pay it out of, that's where when the taxes are collected, if the taxes are, that's gonna be the next thing, if the taxes are collected. The property owner, the property did go on tax sale for their normal taxes, so.
It currently is.
Yeah.
In June,
I think they
it
were,
went on the tax
were
sale.
they a year behind, or maybe it was a year and a half or something, I think, on their taxes already.
So I don't know that we'll recover the money. I mean, if anybody tries to claim the property, after the 2-year process with the tax sale, this would be a debt on that,
That's what I was gonna ask you, yeah.
yeah. So
Well, I don't
I
think,
don't know that it'll ever get paid, and I don't know that, and it's a company that, on the tax sale, my understanding is the company that got it on the tax sale buys lots of property for tax sale, or certificates on tax sale. So I'm not sure,
We don't know where it will end up.
if, not sure the property is going to be maintained in the future.
I wouldn't be surprised if one of the neighbors buy it on the tax sale maybe, but,
Well, it was
No, it was
another
already-
company that bought it on the tax sale.
oh, it
It
was.
was a company that that's what they do, is they get on lots of county tax sale lists and they buy properties that way, but I'm gonna guess they never explored that there was a process going on with this, or they may have forego this property on a tax sale. But this will be due. It would have probably been a good idea for those nearby property owners to have
Mhm.
looked into that tax sale process at the time in June. And, because I just concerned now that there's, that this will ever get paid.
So anyway, we have to decide where to get the money to pay.
Yeah.
The general fund or,
My assumption, unless there's a reason not to.
Yeah,
We could, I lean towards, because I'm not sure it's ever gonna get collected in taxes. I lean towards just doing it out of general services, because only just when they're gonna see the revenue levy.
okay. I'd be in favor of that. Do we need a motion?
I put it as a review in action, so if you want to make a motion that says to, directing the auditor to pay Zimmerman's bill out of general services would be sufficient.
I'll make a motion that the Zimmerman's bill of $8,500 to direct the auditor to take that out of general services.
I'll second.
All right, it's been motion's been made by Supervisor Jorgensen, and seconded by Keeper to pay the cost of the process of $8,500 from general services fund. Further discussion? Then none of those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye. Motion is carried.
you don't happen to have the pictures with you, do you? Of it after it's cleaned up?
Yeah, we didn't even.
No, that's fine.
It's a drastic cleanup.
Yeah, I saw him at the Board of Health meeting that night, and it looks much better,
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
Yeah,
It was
and
crazy.
just so you know, the actual estimate was higher than that. It was 9,500, so
Yeah,
we actually got a better deal.
Good.
usually doesn't work that way.
No,
Item 11, is action regarding the 2080 agreement for emergency ambulance services between the county, the city, and the Floyd County Medical Center. On the back, it's the 2080 agreement for emergency services. It has been updated to show for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, and ending June 30th of 24, the city and the county are contributing a total of $415,000 per entity. The hospital is agreeing to contribute a total sum of $100,000 to the city and county for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023. And to reimburse the city and county for their respective financial contributions under the AMR agreement. The hospital shall pay the city and county the sum of $50,000 each in 12 monthly installments.
So my
March 1st, that's the agreement that we're talking about.
My understanding of this was to lock in that the hospital will pay $100,000 of that first year of expenses. It doesn't obligate them to anything beyond that, and they're not committed to anything, but just, I thought it was best to have it in a written form that they are going to do this. And the hospital's attorney has reviewed this. Todd Pritchard has reviewed it, as well as Brad Sloter.
So the hospital's gonna pay us monthly payments?
They're probably gonna pay us a lump sum.
Oh, okay,
But I will bill them, just like I billed, the Steve from the city and I billed Nashua when they agreed to go for 6 months in the prior year contract. They, we'll send them an invoice. I have coupons that I just send them, and they can either pay it monthly or they likely will just pay it. So I think we might be the first ones to approve this, but I think the hospital and the city meetings are right around the corner here as well. And then once it's all executed by the three entities, then Steve and I will each send our $50,000 monthly bill statements to them.
So, like, to consider a motion to approve,
Make a motion to approve the 2080 agreement for contribution for emergency ambulance services between Floyd County Medical Center, City of Charles City, and Floyd County.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, seconded by Kiefer to approve the 2080 agreement. Further consideration, further discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Board of Supervisors received an email, informing us that, the services for medical examiner would be terminated on November 1st of this year. And Auditor Carr was able to discuss with the clinic director, Vicki Demro, the possibility of extending that through December 31st. And they have agreed that they would be agreeable to stay active through December 31st of this year. But they don't have any other physician at the clinic who would consider doing this afterwards. So that's our discussion item. You all received those emails earlier, and so we're looking for a medical examiner after December 31st of this year. And so there's just been a little bit initial discussion about that. Auditor Carr and I talked about that, who's required to do it, who can be trained in doing that. So this isn't talking about an autopsy. This is just talking about medical examiner services. And essentially, the way I understand it is this a matter of declaring someone death certificate.
So this agenda item did, got some interest out of the sheriff's department. Deputy Shirley talked like he may try to come to the meeting, so I'm not sure if he's listening in or not, but I'll just, on their behalf, I'll say they're very concerned with this because a medical examiner that's a physician has such valuable input when law enforcement is at a scene and has to use these services that the physician is just their knowledge of what's going on with that body and what might be valuable for law enforcement's reporting of a situation is invaluable to them. And I did mention that I know there are some counties, and I believe Chickasaw County, there is some training that you can go through, and an employee can act as that medical examiner piece to declare a person deceased. I don't know what that all entails, but I think the sheriff's office would like to see a physician type person. I did get some information, or heard another county had commented that they've been able to retain a retired physician. I checked with Vicki if there are any other physicians that might be interested. They have some new physicians coming in, but it didn't sound like there was any response on that level.
So it need to be a doctor.
It doesn't need to be.
Does,
It's a strong desire to have someone that has that medical background. And Deputy Shirley's perspective anyway, there's some great value in having that expertise.
Is that a paid position or are
They get paid,
compensated?
they do get compensated. I think it's, depends on, bills have come through, maybe seen some bills come through, might be anywhere from like $125 to a couple $100, based on what they have to do for a specific, it might vary from one to another.
And they'd be on call 24/7.
from emails that I've looked at through Basecamp, our auditors, communication, it sounds like this is an issue in a lot of counties. And there were other emails about retiring physicians that don't want to do this anymore. Yet there was the one who said, we were able to get a retired physician. So I don't know where you want to go with trying to fill this. That profession would be good.
What happens if we can't find someone?
Well, you have to appoint, you are obligated to appoint a medical examiner. So that's why I at least asked if they could give us, instead of being done November 1st. So you've got 4 months, 5 months to figure out how you want to do this. And hopefully when you do your meeting in January, you won't have this issue. You'll have it filled by then. So, but it's gonna take some legwork to try to figure out how you're going to get that filled.
I assume they need a response time of 20 minutes or something. I mean, we think of possibly sharing with a neighboring county.
Yeah, there are some counties that share that. I saw an email on that as well, because some counties have shared. I was gonna put an email out there, but then when I was looking, I knew there had been some information before. And so I did find the emails on what other counties have done, but I do know of personal experience from a friend that for one situation, it was an elderly person and they were able to have the AMR, the ambulance service was able to work with a physician over the phone in the middle of the night to the AMR, it was an AMR service ambulance. They were able to over the phone talk about the details of the situation, and the medical examiner declared the person over the phone deceased. I don't know that that's a common practice, but it's been done that way in Floyd County anyway.
All right, and is there anything further anyone would like to add regarding this? We gotta.
Start working on
We gotta
it.
find someone.
Start working on it.
Yeah. So just to start, all the positions have currently been asked and turned it down.
Vicky said,
That's what Vicky indicated.
so what's been so nice with this, having, I don't know if anybody could convince them of something different at the hospital. But what's been so nice is that you had 4 positions. So if one was busy, on vacation, out of state, whatever, they went down the line and could call the next person. So having one person, I can see where that could be hard, and you probably have to have some backup with another county or something if you only have one. It's an ideal situation if you could convince the hospital to see if they had any of these other physicians, any level of physician, you know, whether it's an MD or a surgeon or, you know, like Dr. Van Glatter or some specialist. And we do have physicians in Charles City, besides these 4. And I don't know if any of you have any connections with any of them, but, or with Donette, if there'd be any chance of trying to.
Does it open it up to dentists, chiropractors, other, or are we just talking MDs?
How about IT directors?
There is, that, you know, that is what is interesting, that, you know, some counties have an employee that wears multiple hats and has gone through the certification process on this as well. There's Pat.
I've been listening.
Did you hear, yeah?
Yeah.
Any additional input?
No, I mean, what you guys are talking about is exactly what we're thinking too, so.
I think you'd mentioned like Jody Heyer. I'm not aware that they've talked with any, we have PAs, we have nurse practitioners locally. More than just these 4 that I think could probably fill the bill.
think that's a better option to have that resource with maybe multiple available versus putting an employee through training that wears 5 other hats or whatever, a couple other hats or whatever, to,
We see a huge benefit in, like, when we had before, it was nice just because, you know, what they do for a living, plus there's 4 to choose from. If one's busy, the other one shows up, so that's kind of a big deal to us in multiple levels of the situation. They come with all the knowledge, also, if you're waiting, can cause a problem, because we don't do anything with the deceased until that decision is made by the ME. So if we're waiting an hour or 2 hours, not only is it time sensitive, I would imagine, for the lab, if they order an autopsy, also for the family. I mean, getting things moving, so.
there was one county that had reported that it had taken so much time for a medical examiner to get on site that it was detrimental to,
It tears the family, yeah, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, there's multiple factors of whether everything, and if you're waiting for just the medical examiner, it creates issues with the family. We've had that on numerous occasions. Not, what I mean by that is, if we're waiting an hour with 4 people, what are we gonna do waiting with 1 person or somebody we're using from out of county? So if we could stress every person that would be useful at our local hospital and find out that none of them want to, then we'll have to look at different options, is my opinion. Is if we can try to stick with the Floyd County Medical Center, if anybody out there could do it, I think would be the best case scenario for us.
Question, I don't know how that process works, but could AMR transport an obvious deceased to the hospital and have it done there?
We usually don't, the person doesn't move until, specifically if we get a hold of ME, we had times where they have been over the phone, but majority of the time they come to the scene. And nothing gets really handled until that ME's there. So there's a lot of on-scene ME appearances before anything happens.
I'm gonna get a little off track here, but the ME shows up and says, no, this person's still alive, you give them an ambulance ride anyway, right?
Well, it's not just classifying the person. Yeah, they wanna see the conditions that this is happening in when they make that determination. Because when it's not just determining if the person is deceased, obviously, it's determining if an autopsy is being ordered. So when they
Okay.
show up, there's a lot of things that they look at the scene with us. We talk amongst each other, and then it's their determination if an autopsy, if the person goes to Ankeny. So that's why they come out alive. That's why the body usually doesn't move until that decision is made.
Okay,
So when they show up with the background of physician or a PA or whoever's showing up, there's a lot of discussion, I'm sure in a lot of other counties too, right there at that scene of what's gonna happen.
okay.
But I understand, I mean, if nobody else at the Floyd County Medical Center wants to do it, we're gonna have to look at different options too, so.
What could be some of those options, Pat?
I don't know, I haven't heard of that. I guess I was unaware that there's people that go get trained and do this, so that would have to be something that I'd be interested or curious to see how that's done. Like I heard earlier, you know, it is an obligation that we have to have an ME, but I don't know what your options are. I don't know, we're gonna have to look at what other counties do in this situation, so.
Yeah.
I
that's, I don't know if you heard that part, that's what he said, is that there's this training option, but that's why you need to get started now, because if that's where it lands, somebody needs to be trained and make that appointment by in January.
And I don't know what that training is, I haven't.
Yeah,
been through
I don't know
that.
either. How the availability of it, how often do they have it? Is it an online thing? I have no idea. Or reciprocating or getting into a 2080 agreement with another county who has an ME that would be willing to come to Floyd County. But again, you look at that, you're delaying, you know, there are 2 counties, there could be incidents in 2 counties at the same time where one person is not available. And so you're still,
Yeah, outside of, I think of whatever you guys decide to get somebody here to do the service. The best case, in my opinion, would have to be to have a list that you can go down the list if one or two is not answering, because, you know, who knows when they're on vacation or if they're sick and not responding, then what happens, I guess. I've never had that. It's always, we've always had one that shows up, so, or at least calls right away.
I wonder why these doctors don't want to do it anymore. What was, they didn't give a
They
reason.
said they're just getting to retirement age and they're just not interested in doing it anymore.
Okay,
But
I mean,
again,
yeah, I
you're
don't
more
hold
than
any-
those four.
I don't hold anything against them. I mean, they've done it for years and they're at that age where they're probably like, we're moving on, and I get it. I don't know if they've just asked the physicians in that specific area, if there's more that we can ask, if there's other employees out there that carry that kind of title of PA or physician or have that medical background. I'm open for anything at this point. So we gotta, I don't know what you know what county that was that uses, you thought it was Chickasaw?
I thought it was Chickasaw that had some.
I can call their sheriff and ask them. I can check into that too to see if that's what they're using.
I think it was Chickasaw. I don't think it was Bremer, but Ken, where was Ken Raising? It seems like maybe Ken Raising. Is he ever Chickasaw County or is he Bremer County?
I don't know.
It seems like that was a name that wore multiple hats, seems like emergency management and medical examiner and multiple hats, but
All right, sounds like we have a little research to do, and it's quite timely
Yeah.
and important, so we'll start that process. Is anything further? Now moving on to item 12. I'll make that 13. Have IT Director Bernie Solomon there. Project update, Bernie.
Okay, this month we got the CrowdStrike up. Got the first 25 computer clients installed, and next week, Wednesday, I have a meeting with OCIO to go over any logs, any problems, stuff that they're seeing. Like, it'll kick back like any errors any of the PCs have, any problems, whatever. And then we'll go through that and get those issues taken care of if there are any. I know there's one or two, they said that they're pretty minor, don't know what they are yet, but nobody has complained, so they gotta be super minor. So once we have that meeting, then we will continue to do the rest of the rollout and get it switched over from a FireEye. And then they want that done by, they want it done by the end of August. So next month we'll be doing that quite a bit. And with that, after we're done with that, we're gonna roll out dual authentication for our Microsoft Outlook. Basically, we've been testing it for a while and Windows had to fix some issues. Microsoft had to fix some issues with Windows 11, Windows 10 and all that. So they got that all kind of squared away. And I think we had the choice, or we had several choices for the person to get the code for logging into their email. It won't happen all the time. It's like when you change your password, the first time you log in to your Outlook, you log is initiated. You can either have a code sent to your phone via app, or you can have them call a phone number and they give it to you verbally over the phone. And I think those are probably the best choices, those two, because there's gonna be a few people in the office that don't want an app on their phone, but they can call their desk number. So I think that'll work out best. And so that'll take a little bit going through, and I figured when we do that, I'll probably sit down with each one of you individually, go over it with you, and I'll try to go over it by department with everybody else.
so when will our current passwords just continue working, Bernie?
So they're already set to like 90 days on the Outlook side of it. And so every 90 days they reset. So you'll notice that you can log in for the longest time to your email, no problem, and then all of a sudden, you change that password, that's gonna come up for that Google authentication. And it's, just make sure it's you, and, you know, if you travel out of the country, it throws a flag, if you travel more than, and it's so funny, because with all these different ISPs, like, mine at home says it's from Illinois, so I'm sure it's gonna go, hey, you're logging in from Illinois instead of Iowa, you know, so.
Mine was Minnesota.
Yeah.
So we should change it before we get that warning probably, right?
Well,
You'll get
we'll
a
change it
notice.
when we activate it, and I'll let you guys know when we activate it, like, I'll probably just meet with you one-on-one, and I'll just activate it right there, and then we'll change it and get it all set up,
Okay,
so I can help you guys with that. And on your phones, that type of stuff too, so. But,
So I don't know, I just, I want to mention about the standard of course, Mark, you had left before we got to the interview part about cybersecurity. And, one of the questions about having a policy for that. And correct me, I think, that you mentioned one of the things we have to have in place for cybersecurity insurance is having dual authentication.
correct.
And so, Heidi was surprised to learn that we don't have cybersecurity insurance, so we need to get that.
And see, don't quote me, but I was talking to Joe Rooney, and the ICIT guys, it sounds like the state may be rolling something out that helps the counties with that cyber insurance.
That'd be good because.
Like a portion of it or all of it,
Yeah,
because I mean, they kind of want to get it all under one umbrella, being, I mean, this CrowdStrike is their baby, their endpoint management system. So it would make sense that, you know, everything's under the same deal.
that would be good because, when, I believe when Mark Melrose, when we approached that with Mark last year, it was like $25,000 just for the cybersecurity policy
Yes. Per year.
per year.
But yeah, doing the dual auth at CrowdStrike, I mean, we haven't had any intrusions or anything like that on our network. I mean, our network's pretty solid. Not tough, but, I mean, we're going in the right direction, the state, you know, for us to have this stuff, we kind of do, gotta do what they want federally and state-wise, and get their grants and stuff, so. Keep it in compliance.
I am surprised though on how often I get those alerts of potential, of,
Oh, and so that's the new Office 365, the extra part that we purchased 2 years ago, the Defender part. And so it tags a lot of them, where it removes the malicious URL, all of that stuff. And I mean, one of the biggest things it catches is like, if you're sending an email back and forth and it's got the same subject, it'll tag it as spam after like the 5th or 6th time, which kind of stinks when you're
Yeah.
trying to do something. But anyways, getting all that done, and then with that, yeah, should have the dual auth and the CrowdStrike done right by the end of August. CrowdStrike will be the one that takes longer time, but. Then, also here the last couple of weeks, I've been out to the CDTC center, and they got new internet out there, and we've always wanted them to be connected to us under our security. So I installed a firewall, ran all their network cable, set up their own internal network for them, and we did all their wireless stuff. And now their network, they're really happy because stuff works the way it's supposed to, and it's not slow no more, and they're secure, so. Got that going. Now, the internet connection is too slow to do phones, but talking with the city, Curry Speaker, I believe it was, I contacted Army to see when they would have fiber out there, maybe doing like a dark fiber like we do at the police station for dispatch and all that, and but it's only for 3 phones, so it's really kind of gotta be justified, because it gets like $350 a month for that dark fiber. But I mean, you know, if we want them to be connected 100%, that's what we would have to do. But for now,
Well, that's worth $350 a month to connect them.
Right, now they're under our security blanket, so that's the main thing. So to keep their data, our data safe. So got a couple more laptop install out there, finish that up next week with them, then they should be good. We did an update on the phone system. And since then, it is not intermittently just shut off and restarted on us. So I think we got that squared away, so. But it was a few updates behind, but Craig, who's with Marco before retired, and since then we haven't really had a point-to-point guy. It's just call in tech support, so. But we got that straightened out, got it caught up. And it was a reminder, I'm taking quotes on new phone systems, because they're sunsetting our phone system next year. So you're not gonna be able to expand, buy new, any of that stuff for it. So we're gonna have to replace it in the next year or two.
And the state came off of our phone system, right?
Yeah, the clerk of courts, they have their own voice over IP phone system now. So all their phones upstairs, I think August 1st, I think it is that they're supposed to switch over. So, waiting for that. That'll free up some stuff.
That gives you phones.
Yeah, it does. I just thought about that.
Yeah.
After talking yesterday.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, the phone system. And then, also we're working with Perry Novak, Public Health, the generator. We've got a stand over there. Perry Novak wants to stand down while they mount the generator, and then they'll put it up, and then we'll mount it to the concrete via the concrete mounts. And then that will be done. Then also Gail wanted quotes for putting like a key fob entrance on their doors over there. So we're working with Communication Innovators on that. Spoke to them yesterday. They were asking me for a preferred door manufacturer, and I was like, I have no preference. I don't think anybody does. I was looking for somebody local, but there's nothing around that does that type of stuff. So with we could probably measure the door and have L&J build us a door frame. The door frame they got now.
Could
The door
Curry,
frame they got now is wood, so putting a key fob thing on there is kind of goofy, kids are gonna break it over anyway, so.
could Curry's Manufacturing build you a door?
Who's that?
Curry's Manufacturing in Mason
Curry's?
City?
I don't know, I would think, I can get a hold of them, but I would think a custom door from them might be pretty spendy.
Yeah,
think might be
I
pretty
don't know,
spendy.
that's what they do, is they make doors. No.
Yeah. I thought
I
that.
think Mason City overhead door we've used in the past.
I got a kid that works at Curry's, so, I'll quiz him this weekend and try to get on with somebody, but, they didn't know either, they were just trying to get an idea, so.
Sure.
But, so public health, and then,
Could they, if they're doing the fobs, can they be tied to our system?
yes, they will be. And then the cameras too, waiting on a quote for that, because they're the non-compliant cameras. I got a quote coming for those, and then the ones we got out front of the courthouse, that were outdoor ones that we never even looked at before. So, and then, did an inventory on software licensing. In that inventory, I've worked with Solutions, they found that for the past 2 or 3 years, they've paid our Microsoft Office licensing, but they have never billed us. So we're getting a bill on that. It's gonna be about around 12,000. There's money in the budget to cover it, but just a heads up, we're gonna get billed for it. It was something that somebody on the solution side failed to bill us for. And I spoke to Gloria about this earlier. And another thing we're trying to do is get everybody in the courthouse onto Office 365, so that everybody's using the Outlook client, Excel, Word, and all that stuff, instead of the freebie stuff that some of them use.
So did you say that, because I think you talked that if you do that Office 365, that 12,000 or whatever price is gonna be less.
Yeah, after they get it all done, they're gonna try to have the quote with me before I came here today, but evidently they got busy, so If we add these new licenses, it'll actually drop off $2,000 to $3,000 on that total bill, so. I mean, it's a bill we should have been paying, they forgot to bill us, so we have to. And then also in the licensing, inventory, extra server licenses and stuff like that, so we have servers ready to go for the sheriff's department, but we didn't have licensing. So with those extra licenses I've got, I'm going to configure those servers now and get them, they're on the network with the police department. So what we're gonna do is kind of do a replication of what the police department has on their servers, the shieldware and that stuff, and over to here, so that that one goes down, this one's still up. Everybody can still connect to it on the backup. They all connect to the same VPN, the police, the sheriff's department. So one goes down, the other one's still up. No matter what, we gotta fail. So should have that hopefully done within the next month as well, so. But that is what I have.
All right.
Oh, sorry, one more thing. Our wireless system in the courthouse is fairly old. And the annual renewal cost is like $3,500 for the licensing of those. So Solutions and I were talking, and I think I'm gonna go with this Ubiquity solution to replace them. It's $2,000 and there's no annual. It's just, you pay for the support if you want it, but it's Ubiquity. I've got a ton of experience with Ubiquity solutions, so we're gonna support it ourselves. But it's like $2,200 compared to that other renewal cost, and it's kind of old, so. So I'll be signing a quote for $2,200 to get that going. So I can get the wireless replaced, and we got one extra so that we can replace someone in here so that the courthouse network is over here too, so. But that is what I have.
Oh, how about a room update, or the boardroom, just give it an update on that.
So, yeah, well, we got the owl in there, we've got the TV hooked up, everything's ready to go, we got your room set up. The YouTube page that we've got, the channel out there from Floyd County, after every board meeting, we've been uploading those videos. So that is accessible and available, and it's Floyd County, Iowa Board of Supervisors. Because if you do search just for Floyd County, you get Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, all of it, it's nuts, there's a ton of them. So that setup works pretty good.
I had a question, Bernie. It's been a couple weeks ago when the gal from Northland Securities was on
Yep.
Zoom.
Couldn't hear her.
Well, here's what happened. She couldn't hear us, we could hear her.
Yep.
So she called in and muted her phone. If you watch that video, there's 45 minutes of no audio on YouTube.
From her.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, from her.
Correct.
No,
You can hear you guys in the background, you cannot hear her.
no, there's no audio, period. On the YouTube video, when she's on the screen, there's no audio at all.
Okay.
It comes back when she hangs up her phone and we go on to the next item on the agenda. But if you go back and listen and view that YouTube video or whatever, you know, when she hits mute on her phone, there's no audio for any of it.
So
Jason's aware of that. I
So-
mentioned it to him.
how do we prevent that in the future?
Well,
I mean, if we're the hosts, I mean, they can dial into the meeting via their phone, or they can use the microphone on their computer. So, and they're gonna have to do
But
one or
her
the other.
muting it, why would that mute?
She shouldn't have control over anything unless you guys join the meeting she offered.
No, it was on,
No.
Zoom.
it was
So,
Jason's meeting.
gotcha,
just
but
go to the video and watch it, you'll see. There's
I
no
swear I
audio. I
watched
thought there
it
was
from
something
the
wrong with my
beginning.
computer for a
you
while.
could hear noises in the background, but you couldn't hear what she was saying, because I could see her moving on the screen, but there was nothing going on. And I kind of skipped through there, and I thought I heard shuffling the papers, and maybe a cough here or there, but you could not hear anything she did, but I will double check it.
Yeah, it's,
I don't think she can mute it for
But
everybody.
you're saying it started only when she muted her phone.
well,
It was right away to the-
she said that she was gonna call in, and she did, and we could hear her on the phone. and she muted hers, that's when there's no audio anywhere in this room.
That was in the meeting somehow, so.
I watched it and I thought there was something wrong with my computer.
Is there anything we could do, like when Charles City Can was doing this and sometimes Stuart or someone might forget to do the audio, turn the audio on their camera? And so Justin would, call me and say, hey, can you send me your recording? And so I'd send him the recording and then he could dub it together. Can we do that and repost that one?
Boy, I don't know how long that would take. I mean, because you've already got audio with the video. So you're gonna have to remove that audio and put this audio with it.
I
And,
think it's,
yeah, but I'll look because it has 2 files. And if you want me to post that as well, it's got the video file and an audio file. And I can look at the audio file and see if it recorded her during that time. I'll check it out. And if it did, from now on, we'll just upload both. The audio and the video.
But again, on that YouTube, you can't hear Heidi or anybody here. It's just all
just
quiet.
during that part.
And I would
she
think
was-
if the video's that way, the audio file is gonna be the same thing. I would think.
Yeah, but she hung up, then the audio come back.
I will check it out, see what we can find, but.
Yeah. Probably maybe never happen again. It might have been something real unique, you
Well, it
know?
was odd that she was, couldn't hear us anyway. And that's why I was anxious to, Tyler didn't have any issue today.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it'd be interesting today to see if there was any issue with having someone else on today.
I'll check it out before I look at it, but before I, and then also in the board of supervisors room, we've got Zoom room set up for the board of supervisors. Their own calendar will be displayed on there for the Zoom meetings. So when you guys go in there, screen it on, you just touch it to start it. Cameras already configured, everything like that. We tested it out a couple times and Lori's got access to calendars and set up the meetings. Go there, just wait for chairs or
Chairs came,
chairs
and
so.
potentially
We're
we
gonna
could
try to
have
make an attempt to be in there for our next meeting, which is August 7th.
Okay. I'll be there and make sure it goes smooth.
All right.
Hopefully that air compressor don't kick on.
I think we have a resolution for that.
Yeah.
It's short-lived, but it's noisy while it's running. I mean,
Yeah.
It doesn't run very long, but.
Right.
But did you notice at, when you were at the, city for their strategic planning meeting? When their stuff kicked in, that was really loud.
yeah, it's a distraction. I think Jim, he's been to a lot of meetings there, more than I have, but
It's noticeable.
I've been there twice now, and when it's running, it's, yeah.
So question, were we going to put a sign up saying employee entrance only?
We are, that's the plan.
Gotcha.
They actually, we talked about, today that you purchased that,
Oh, the vinyl cutter?
vinyl cutter.
Yeah.
And that might be a more attractive, instead of our sign that we have saying, not an employee entrance, go that way, go. So we might be working with you to break out that vinyl cutter.
So, that one I bought, it was used, but it's an older one, and it uses serial connections, which now the newer ones are a lot better, a lot faster. I mean, this one's probably 10 years old, but yeah. No, I think it'd work awesome for anything that we gotta do. I mean, even labels for the cars, whatever we're gonna do. Jeff's road signs and all that stuff. So just gotta buy the right type of vinyl to make it work, indoor, outdoor. I think we get it. Yeah.
I have one request of you, and maybe you could look at, when we're doing the last 2 agenda items, but a Word document doesn't want to be friendly to me, it doesn't want
Is Outlook.
if you were done.
Oh, that Word document, right? Yeah. Unless you guys got questions for me.
I don't.
Is that,
Nope.
all right, next item is future agenda items.
Unless there's anything with the wind turbines that we can, I keep getting calls and comments and.
I stopped at their thing at the pub yesterday morning, and I was the only one there that wasn't, there were 6 or 8 people from next era there, but I was the only one that wasn't. And then I told them that Mark had been trying to get a hold of them to get them on the agenda, and they all acted like they didn't know anything about it. So, but they would like an opportunity to be on the agenda.
Did you get a card or something on who to contact?
No. But I got a postcard. I probably don't have it anymore, but you have some of that.
That's exactly what I got, and I intended to stop to the meeting, but I didn't have time yesterday to do it. But going to their website and following through their messages, you always got back to the same person. And when you get to that point, the message box is full. And so I couldn't leave a message with anybody to ask them to come to a meeting, and so I didn't get to go to the meeting yesterday, but I think we, you know, if they wanna come, we got people that wanna hear from them, because this is the Rudd project,
Right.
so. I don't know.
Well, I'll look at home and see if I can find it. I had a phone number for, no, I've been getting emails from a guy is what it was, from, I don't know if I got that card in the mail regarding this meeting they had yesterday, but I also got an email from someone with NextEra. And if I haven't deleted it, I'll see if I can find it back. So it's been a long time ago, spring maybe.
Well, they don't respond to their phone number, you don't get a person,
Okay,
so it's been kind of frustrating, hard to do,
yeah.
but anyway.
Are any of you looking over that information from Bob Goodwin on the utility?
Yeah, do we need to ask him about questions that come up today, I guess, huh?
Yes, in fact, that's what we could, submit those to him, the concerns that were issued about these 2 sections of the code we talked about there. And so he could be prepared to respond to that.
And then I overlooked an email that I've gotten from Rachel Genby about, we've got a wage overpayment issue with her. And I've been working with Mike Galloway. Dennis, you were in on one of those conversations with Mike Galloway. We've got some terms for that overpayment. I could have had it on today's agenda, but I missed your email Wednesday afternoon. Overlooked your email, so that'll be on the August 7th meeting then also.
So we pay overpaid her pretty substantial amount, right? Or,
$1,200.
so, okay. She wanted to make it back, pay it back in monthly installments or something? Is that what she wanted to do? Or?
Yep, she came up with terms that, and that is in an agreement at Mike Galloway's office.
Okay.
All right, nothing further?
No,
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to adjourn, those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
We're adjourned.
Was there a gremlin in there?
Oh, the